Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of the Bold Entrepreneur Show. Today I was privileged to speak to Picôt, who shared some great insights about how he creates his products and how to get the most out of live events, and some other wee funny stories along the way, which I'll leave you to listen to. Unfortunately, this time the gremlins got in the way and the video cut out after about 5 minutes while I was still in the pre-chat, chatting before we actually went live, as it were. So all I really have is an audio interview, which we don't lose anything because it didn't share his screen at all at any point. So all you'd be looking at anyway is the two of us blathering away. So I've just put up a still shot from during the call when we were both enjoying a wee hot beverage. So apologies for that. It would have to happen in episode 2, so fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. Alright, so here's Carol. Enjoy the interview. Hi everyone, and today I'm here with the very interesting Picôt. Welcome, Carol.
Hi David, very pleased to be here, thank you very much.
I'm very glad too. Very interested to be on kind of the other side of your microphone because I'm in incredibly good company. Had a wee look back at your bio, and you've certainly had a lot of people on the other side of your microphone, you know, likes of, well, who have you had?
Yeah, I started off when I first came into internet marketing. I started off doing videos, and I was quite lucky. Interviews, should I say? They were actually audios, not videos, original ones. And it was actually it was a recommendation by a coach that I had at the time called Lee McIntyre. And he said it's the easiest way to start. And obviously, what I would do is when I was having problems and questions, and which you have when you first start, I mean, you're all questions, aren't you?
Yeah.
I thought, well, rather than spending loads and loads of money on courses, I would actually get in touch with these people and ask them the things myself, and get the answers direct from the horse's mouth, so to speak. I was very lucky because at the time when I first got involved, I had quite a lot of time on my hands, and I could spend a lot of time on the internet. And because there was a couple of JV groups just starting off that I was very active in, ended up being the admin of one of them, simply because I was so active in the group, and that led me on to making a lot of good connections in the JV world and making interviews as a result. As far as who I interviewed, one of the first guy I interviewed was a guy called James Teal, who's Lee McIntyre's right-hand man. That was all about copywriting. That went on to be a product, or part of a product I did last year, called the Millionaire Copywriting Mastermind. But that was focused specifically on copywriting. The other people like Brad Goss was an early one. I interviewed people like Justine Popovic about PLR, marketers like Barb Ling, general marketing, Randy Smith, John Thornhill, which another one which ended up as a product. So really, quite a big batch of them, really. I mean, the list is quite long. But after that, I went on to sort of some high profile people, Con Ferrio, John Carlton eventually, and again that was part of the copywriting product. So I have done a lot of interviews, but they weren't. Well, sorry to cut you off. They weren't actually publicly available. I had them as a just for people I was working with, so they could have access to them. I never actually released any of them publicly, apart from a couple of bonuses.
No, that's pretty good. And when people ask you after this interview, you can add my name to that huge list.
Right.
So David Dillon will go. Alright, that's fine. So anyway, you told me in our kind of pre-chat that your story is a very interesting one, so I can't wait to hear this. So
it's probably not your most usual one.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I actually let's go right back. I was an art student, and I sort of bunked out right at the end of my degree to join a rock and roll band. I did actually get my degree, not as good a score as I could have done, because I spent a lot of time touring and doing things that aren't very compatible with college degrees. But that was it. It was my kind of, I set foot into the music world, and I was in it for probably 16 or 17 years professionally in this rock and roll band of sort of similar, I suppose like a a bad version of the Rolling Stones meets the Black Crowes, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pretty successful outside England. We had a number one album, and it stayed there for 6 months in the indie charts. That was in Europe.
Would I have heard of your band?
The band was called the Jacobites, and another guy was called Nicky Sudden, who was the singer out of the Jacobites. I did a lot of solo work with him in his own band as well.
Okay.
There's another band called Suicide Blonde just before that. The Jacobites were the one I sort of made the most. That was the one that I made my career with. Really, had a couple of side projects, but that's another story that I won't go into. That lost me a lot of money as well. But the Jacobites made me a lot of money, which was good. And this is actually where the hat comes from. I was actually the bass player in the band. This is part of my stage gear. So the people always ask you, why do you wear the hat? But I'll tell you the story about that later on. But what happened to me is after the band split. Fortunately, it was a rock and roll band, and the lifestyles of the people meant that a couple of them didn't live very long. We ended up half a band at one point, and we thought, we couldn't really continue without the singer and stuff. So I ended up just wanting to do something quickly. So I ended up doing driving, because I actually had a little tour bus business as well. I used to rent out tour buses to other bands. So I ended up driving small lorries around for a while, and then I went into care work, and again, because it was easy work, and I was all the time I was kind of looking around, learning, thinking, what should I do now? What can I do? And I was doing stuff like teaching myself Photoshop, teaching myself HTML, because I knew there was something to be done on the web, even though I didn't know what it was yet, but I knew these skills would come in handy. So I was doing things as I was doing these crappy jobs. I was learning at the same time. And then care work went on to becoming a special needs teacher, because it paid a lot better.
It's an interesting jump, rock band care worker, or rock band driver care worker.
Oh yeah, rock band driver, because it was easy. It was the easy thing to fall into. I worked for a driving agency, then it went, but because I had my own vehicle, because I had the tour bus and everything. I suppose vehicles were, and driving was a logical step, really. So the care work thing, there just happened to be a care home on the corner where I lived, and I just knocked on the door one day and said, look, how do you apply? And they told me, and we ended up working there, and then I was supporting the college. They ended up getting a teaching degree and becoming a special needs teacher in a specialist college. That was all well and good, but because of the ventures that I'd been involved in before with the bands, the side bands I had, unfortunately ended up getting things didn't go too great with this one band, and I ended up walking away from the project, and I was about 40 grand in debt at the time. I ended up turning my back on it, thinking, sod this, I'll either go bankrupt or make the money back. And I still had this debt hanging around my neck. I was working through the college, and I was trying to pay it off. I was working 7 days a week in a specialist college, teaching in the daytimes, and working in the residential side in the evenings, and doing sleepovers, and I was working at the weekends, trying to get rid of this debt. And it wasn't really going down, and I was getting sick because I was overworking, and it got to the point where I ended up in hospital, because I was just working ridiculous amounts of time, and it just caught up on me. And I thought, and suddenly all these credit cards came crashing through the door, and I was hiding letters under the table and all the things that you do. And I thought, there's got to be something else. I can't do all this work now, because the college wouldn't let me do any of the overtime anymore. I thought, I need something else, and I got all these skills, and started looking online, and I banged into this guy called Lee McIntyre, who released a product about list building. So I had £600 aside that I was going to use for going bankrupt with, and I thought, well, I'm just going to buy this course instead. So I did. I bought Lee McIntyre's course, and what happened was it didn't actually go through, because it was one of these courses that it was a webinar course, so you get people to pay for it, then you do the course, and for some unknown reason the course didn't go ahead. So Lee says, look, come on my coaching instead. So you can have your money back or come on my coaching. So I went on his coaching. He taught me all about how to interview people, how to build a product out of it, blah blah blah, copywriting, all the other stuff that I ended up doing, all on Lee's course. And that was it. That was my venture into internet marketing. Before that, I didn't even know what it was. So that's basically how I got into it and how I got into interviews. And the top hat came along because one day I put it on to do a little video, because I was posting videos all the time on the web, and it got so many comments underneath it that I just kept it. It became part of my I don't know what you'd call it, branding, I suppose is a better word.
Yeah, it's a kind of, you're always seeing it. So your views went up when you put the top hat on.
Oh yeah, yeah. The comments were absolutely. There's about 200 comments under the. Just kept going. They go for days and days. You got yours as well. There you go. Yours is not. That's nice. Look how nice that is. Mine is battered, man.
Well, that should. Well, you've been probably battering guitars off it and stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So the thing is, Nick, I'm not going to steal you. I'll find something else.
Okay.
No, right. So, but I mean, the method you use. I mean, this is interesting for people that might be starting out. Is that it seems to me that your majority of your products didn't really need any skill on your part at all, except for the ability to think of questions and to actually set up the call. So this is a kind of a model that even brand new out the wrapper newbies could use to actually make a product and get it launched.
They could, but as far as the skill's concerned, you have to have, I would say, a certain set of questions. I wouldn't just go and interview somebody blind. I would have a set of questions ready, and if they answer them, send you for them. There's always things like, what's your biggest mistake? What would you recommend? How can you add? The ones I always ask, how would you add value to a product that people are looking for? The questions I would ask them are the questions that, the burning needs, the things that you really need to know emotionally, emotional questions that when you think of them, you really have to know them. That's how I'd ask the questions if I was an interviewer starting off, and that's how I did ask the questions. And I was actually commended by a lot of the interviewers who said how good they were, because obviously you're steering the boat as an interviewer. You're steering the boat for your interviewee, because obviously the questions are going to, they're going to ascertain where the interview is going to end up. So if you were a boat, it would be where your boat would end up on, in France or Jersey, whatever. You know what I mean? You're steering the thing there, and obviously you don't want to lose people and bore them. So it does make a difference. I wouldn't just go in blind. But it is a very easy model to follow if you're just starting. I will agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't meaning that there's no skill involved, obviously, because you do have to think about it. You talked about the emotional burning questions. Can you give me an example?
I'd say something. I'm thinking back to the questions when I first started, because obviously it's a bit different now because my marketing knowledge is different to what it was then. But my first question would be like, well, how would you know what kind of a product to make? How would you know what people want? If you were to approach people, what's the best way to approach them without pissing them off and annoying them? Questions like, if you were to give me some advice about something not to do, what's the worst mistake you'd made in your career that you can give me advice about to now, so I don't make the same mistake?
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you could give? If you were starting from scratch and wanted to make your first $100, how would you within a week? How would you go about it?
Excellent questions. That's something I considered as well when I've just obviously started doing interviews, and that's a lot of the questions that you just said there are some that I've noted down in my notepad for things that I would want to ask for people that don't perhaps have a launch coming out and they want to talk about their product all the time. Kind of content interviews. The big one that you mentioned there was, if you had to start again this week, right now, what's the first thing you'd do? How would you answer that, by the way?
How would I answer that? I'd do an interview.
Perfect. Yeah, so you'd go out and do it.
You want to know what I'd do?
Yeah.
The first thing I would do, I'd join as many Skype groups as I could and Facebook groups, and I would watch and see what things people are talking about and things that were emotionally charged, things that made them angry, the frustrations, what was holding them back. And people will talk about this a lot. And the other thing I would do is, if I was able to, I'd put surveys in there and ask them. So there's that way to go about it. I'd look at other products that are on the market, especially lower price point ones, which is probably what if you're starting off small, you'd want a low price product. Look at them, find out how you could, or maybe buy 1 or 2 or 3 cheap products. Look on places like the Warrior Forum, see what's getting the most comments. So that means more. Obviously that's what's generated the interest. So people are already interested in that particular subject. Buy the products, buy 2 or 3 of them, put them together, see what the differences are, see if you can add anything to them, make your own product from them. I look at making a product as being a little bit like an assignment at school or college. When you're given an assignment, you've got to write something. You go out, you research, you find out as much as you can, you put the assignment together, and you try and add a little bit of something to it to make it slightly unique, so it's not the same as all the others. So you're not just regurgitating other information, but you've got an angle on it that is interesting that other people haven't got.
Yeah,
that's what's going to get you the marks, and that's all you're doing when you're creating a product. It's a very similar thing, but that's what I'll do. I'll see what's selling, see because there's going to be interest in that, and then I would see if I could come up with something slightly different, with a different angle, or that's got parts in that these products haven't, and it's not that difficult.
No.
And it's actually a guy called Brad Spencer that taught me how to do this. And I interviewed him. It's getting on a while ago now. I interviewed Brad, and that was what was one of my questions. How would you start? Just so you're asking me, and that was his answer to me, and that is what I've ended up doing that naturally.
Yeah.
Now you just sort of do it as part of your market research. But if I was starting again, that's what I'd do. Other places to look are Amazon and places like that, because you just look where the interest is. Look what's got the most comments. People are into that sort of thing. But if you were in IM, sticking in the IM niche, it's Facebook groups, forums, Skype groups, and anywhere where people hang out, where they're talking to each other, where you can read what they're saying to each other, or you can also drop comments in to fuel the fire a little bit and get back the information that you need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's advice I was given by Ben Adkins as well. Just to get maybe 2 or 3 products in a subject and see if you can either mix them together, take the best from each and put it into one, or add your own twist, add your own angle to it.
USP.
And that could be sticking some interviews or talking to people that know what they're talking about and doing that kind of thing. Is there a difference Sorry? Go on. I was going to say, is there a difference? You've done interviews which are mostly content, and obviously there are interview styles where people are launching something and they want to get their face out there. And what's the difference in the way that you approach people if you want to do a pure content interview as opposed to? I'd imagine it's fairly easy to get people to do interviews when they've got a product coming out because they want to get out there. So, for example, your copywriting product, they were basically just content, and we're going to release it. How did you approach people to do them?
I just explained what I wanted to do, and just said, and then I did the same thing, saying, look, you can have the interview for yourself and do what you want with it. So if you want to use it as bonus or anything. In fact, I shouldn't have said that because I did one with Sean Mize, and Sean. It was supposed to be for the copywriting product. Sean released it as a WSO, but that, it's sort of fair enough. I did say to him, "You can do what you want with it," and he did. But mostly they don't. They'll just keep them. But I'll just be honest with the people and say, "Look, it's a content interview, and I'll probably use it for a product." If you've got a product coming out and you want to do a separate 15-minute interview on the end, which I've done with some people, and we'll just bang that up and we'll do a little. I did that with Wilco, Wilco de Craig, who's he's got the Up Viral one at the moment, but he did a product a while ago, and that's what I did with him. We did a content interview, which in fact I think he got wiped off YouTube, unfortunately. My account got hacked. Oh, but we did like a 15-minute one afterwards, just plugging the product as a review, and I put that on the blog. I managed to make some sales through that.
I know, it's good to know, because sometimes well, I've certainly thought it must be easy to get people when they've got a product, but maybe not so easy if it's just content. But so it's good to know from somebody that's got the experience. We're going to just talk a wee bit about live events now. Just kind of something that I know that you've done. You know, you've got a product coming out from your notes in the last one in June, was it?
Yeah. The event was in June the 7th, 5th to the 7th. Yeah.
Now, we hear a lot about the importance of attending live events. I would love to have gone. I have family commitments. I just couldn't make it. It's great to get going. So for those that can make it, that that are thinking, should I be going? I'd imagine that you would say absolutely go and do it. How much better do you feel live events are than just being in Skype groups and Facebook groups?
What you realise when you attend live events are that you see all these names and you see all these, some of them, there's almost like a hierarchy, especially in the internet marketing game, and you think, oh, I can't speak to him, I can't speak to her, they're too far up the pecking order or whatever. The gurus, these unapproachable, mythical creatures that dominate the IM tutorial scene and product creation scene, whatever. When you go there, you realise everybody's just completely normal people with a computer in front of them.
Yeah.
The only difference is, obviously, the amount of time they spend in front of the computer and what's in their heads. And that's the thing. And most of them are very nice people, very approachable. We're all in the same game together. We know that building up networks and helping people is going to be viable, because some people, there's always going to be people that take advantage, yes. There's always going to be people that aren't going to do anything, yes. But there's going to be a portion of people that will climb the ladder, and we can all grow together and help each other in the future. And attending the live events it brings the whole thing down to a normal, i.e. Physical world, not digital world scenario, when people are just people. I remember when I first met John Thornhill and Dave Nicholson, it was a Mark Anastasi event in London in 2010 or something like that, 2011, and I was absolutely bricking it when I went up to them. I just bought this product off them, and I was so nervous, and they were so nice. They were so down to earth. And then after 2 minutes, and I was sort of chatting to Joel Comm and all sorts of people there, and I sort of relaxed and just thought they're just ordinary people.
Yeah.
And as soon as you realise that, it makes the whole thing really easy. And of course, once you've met somebody face to face, the whole thing becomes a lot more friendly. I mean, I'm very good terms with John now, because I've met him so many times now. And Dave Nicholson was extremely helpful to me on my last launch. He just sat and just gave me loads of advice, chatting away, a couple of beers. He gave me tons of advice, which I used, and it worked. But so the main thing is, the main thing is you just realise, people are just people. And this whole myth that you see when you go on the web and you see all these names like Sam Backer and all this stuff. You see Backer, you meet Sam Backer. He's just a nice young man. Yeah. Very friendly, very very approachable. And you chat away, and these people are walking gold mines when it comes to making money, and know what to do. But as people, they're number one, very interesting and good to talk to, and number two, so most of them very easygoing and very just this whole thing, this whole barrier disappears, and it's like anything, people in person, it creates that bond, it creates that link that you wouldn't have if you've never met them.
Yeah, and you can get in touch with them on Skype when you get back and say, how's your head?
That whole messaging system between you changes, everything changes, the dynamics change,
That's interesting. I remember Tony Shepherd, we're both in his group. Do you remember the story that he said he was at an event and he was sitting at a table with pretty much everybody well known at the top of their game in the British scene, and somebody walked past and said, "Well, I wonder how you get a seat at that table." And Tony said, the answer is, come up and ask if you can join us.
Yeah, that's it.
why do they think there's some kind of you can't approach them mentality there? Such a shame that they missed out on that.
I don't know if you've met Tony in real life, he's one of the nicest guys. He really is.
No, it's on my list of things to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's pint of Guinness, you know.
Yeah, well, no, that's my problem. I've got a young boy just now, and it's the times that I can leave him alone with my wife and head off for the weekend. They're not there yet. Maybe when he's older, but that's my problem. And for people like me, we have to kind of look for I don't know, people who have maybe taken notes during the lectures and make them available to people. I'll maybe look out for. I don't know if do you know anybody like that?
Well, it's taking notes of the lectures.
Do you think you get more from the lectures themselves?
Yeah,
do you think you get more from the lectures or the socialising afterwards? Just
both. I mean, obviously, socialising is up to you. I mean, I always have been very social at these events and make the most of them. As far as the actual content's concerned, I'll usually take it in. There's going to be golden nuggets in there all the time from the presentations. I mean, these presentations were, Simon and Michelle Warner, who organised it, did a very, very good job of the people that got in there, and the content of that 3 days was absolutely superb. In fact, Joey, I mean, I remember sitting with Joey Zotto a couple of years ago. Before he'd done anything, he was really worried that his product wasn't going to fit the market because he was doing this video product, and he had to raise 30 grand to get married. And I was sat in a little tiny mastermind group with him. There's I think 7 of us in there, and he was really, really scared that the market wouldn't take to what he did. And I said, I think you'll be fine, Joey. I think you'll be absolutely fine. He just created this product, little training product, first thing he'd done. And I said, seriously, with what you've got, I think they're going to really take to you. And obviously they did. Yeah. But he was actually one of the speakers at this event, and what was good about what he had to say was how much he'd learned in this 3 years just by doing testing, trying things out. And I actually took on a lot of what he said. I put it down. I made all these notes of what he said, and I actually used it in my own funnel. So I actually used just from the one lecture, the one speech. I used that in the funnel when I released the notes as a product, and just the content of the videos, length of the videos, type of videos, in the upsells, what I actually said, and that was just one of the lectures. Obviously, there was just 12, and there's actually 13 of them altogether. But I've recorded 12 of them in the book. One I couldn't because the guy hasn't sent me the slides were corrupt. He sent me the slides and I couldn't get them to work. And that was Ross Carroll. Yeah. But that will get added as soon as I've got that.
Of course. So So we've started talking about it now. So you've done. You went to every presentation and sat and took notes for every single one. Hat off to you on that one, because doing notes for every single one, where you're probably dying to be out talking to people in the.
Well, no, not when the lectures are on. No. I think you get people networking in the bar upstairs. Yeah, you're always going to get that. But when the actual presentations are on, most people are just sitting and listening, or sometimes they're interactive. I mean, Cindy Batty had people up. In fact, she had Walt Bayliss up and Andy Fletcher and somebody else. I can't remember who the one was, making pizzas. Because it was all her presentation was about. She called it the $1 Million Pizza Plan, and she compared the pizza to your internet business. So you've got your base, which is obviously customer base, then you've got the different layers. Very, very cleverly, the way she did it, and the way she got your mind to sort of focus on this pizza, and each part of the pizza was a different part of your business, all equally as important in order to make the pizza. Obviously, you've got different flavors depending on your products and what they're for. But the way she used the sort of visualization of the visual experience or the physical experience of a pizza and the components of an internet marketing business or product, a product, it's really, really clever, because obviously you had this image and you were able to piece together all the bits really easily in your head just from the association. And she called it the $1 Million Pizza Plan, and that was it's very, very clever. In fact, Cindy's made over $2 million just on JV Zoo alone, and she knows. She's been around, and in fact, she was one of the speakers at the same Mark and Stasi event that I met John and Dave Nicholson that the first time. And sort of, that was, I'd say, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or something. So even then, they were, she was very well known in the IM scene, and she's got a lot of knowledge, and she's able to simplify it all down into this little plan. Yeah. It's very good, and I recorded all of that step by step. The whole lot was recorded and written down in his notes.
Aye.
Along with the rest.
Substantial notes, isn't it? So what do people get then with your product?
What do they get? They get the notes of 12 of the presentations that took place over the 3 days at the Marketing Summit UK. Mm-hmm. It's all broken down into sort of bite-sized, palatable, actionable chunks, very easy to read. It's a PDF, 188 pages at the moment, although that might change with the updates. And it's got 12 speakers off the top of my head. It's got Walt, Joey Zotto, so it's Walter Bayliss. He's very good. He talks about Walter talks all about mindset and how he met Brad Goss at the first summit in 2011, I think it was, in Manchester, and how I met Brad Goss. He was one of my first interviewees, and Brad changed his mindset, and ever since he met Brad, his company just grew. Mm-hmm. And he showed how he did that, what the steps he took, and takes you through like a course of basically thinking bigger and growing as a result of that, just by changing your mindset. And exactly what he did, from sort of 3 or 4 WordPress plugins and a piece of software to having this huge internet business now, making millions of dollars, 6 figures yearly. Joey takes you through video creation, what to do and what not to do, what to put on your upsells, downsells, how long to make your videos, how to protect the angles, what to say, what not to say. Yeah. You got Sam Backer that talks about he talks all about affiliate marketing, so promotional emails. Basically gives you a promotional email strategy using white label products that made him $34,000 in a week. You got Devin Zander and his launch Omnipresent Dragon Sniper. I was actually sat next to a guy called Austin Anthony in the actual presentation. We sat next to each other, and what happened after Devin's speech, Austin approached him with a product, saying, "Look, I've got this product. How do you fancy having a go at what you've just taught with my product?" And they went on to make that was called Ecom something or other. But I mean, within a month of I've forgotten the name of the product. Ecom Expert, I think it was Ecom Expert. Yeah, they went using Devin's technique that he taught at the summit, which is launch Omnipresent Dragon Sniper. So launch Omnipresent Dragon Sniper. They made, I think it was $645,000. I think it was.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was a huge figure. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's actually on the sales page because Austin let me use his launch as a case study because that's what was included. It's all included in the notes. Everything Devin included in the notes. They used that. They made that amount of money, and Austin said, "Well, you can use that on your sales page as proof that this works because it just has." So I've got Austin on there. A little testimonial from Austin and a little picture of how much money they made, and that was within a month of the launch. So all that's in the notes. There's a hell of a lot more. Chris Winters talks about how to get away with not paying any taxes. But starting your business up in Hong Kong, very, very good. A lot of people have followed Chris. Actually, you've noticed a lot of marketers like Karthik, he talks about email. Karthik Ramani talks about email deliverability. He's got his business in Hong Kong now due to Chris. So that's another one. Matt Grayford talks about how to launch that. I followed Matt's example to the T. Again, straight out the notes. All the notes that I took, I followed exactly what Matt had done for this actual launch. Right. And I was able to put a $97 product on the funnel without doing anything. But I'll leave that one to your curiosity. So now I've got a nice deep funnel. Yeah. So when the promote, the JVs promote, they can all make more money. See what I mean? Rather than just have a front end $17 product, they've got a nice deep funnel, and so for one email they can make a lot more money. You see.
Yeah. Plus I was going to ask you about upsells, but obviously we'll keep that one under wraps for the moment, but
yeah, there's a couple of upsells, and they're
yeah.
except they're not necessary,
Yeah.
but they do enhance the product.
Yeah,
You know,
very helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, there's more. I mean, the sales page really says everything that's on there, but there's a lot of stuff in there. The good thing about it is I've actually followed my own product to make the product. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So the directions that are in the product, I've actually used them in the actual marketing of the product itself to make it what it is, and so it's sold as well. And even I don't know if you saw the funny cat video I made.
Yes.
Yeah, that was part of what Devin talked about. Making like doing a video with like a little funny story in it or something like that.
Yeah, I'll maybe put that under this if you'll let me.
Yeah, okay, sure. If you want to chat some JVs, sure, you can stick it under there. Lovely.
Yeah, it was very good. I have to admit, I mean, obviously I've looked through the product. Your notes are incredibly detailed, and I love the way you've been able to just distill everything that was done into actionable content. And as they always say, no fluff. You've put everything that we need to know into your notes. And imagine that if for people like me that can't actually get there, that's the next best thing. Well, I think maybe a video, watching a video of it would be the next best thing, but I suppose what you've done is the next best thing, and it certainly allows me to know what's been going on without actually, unfortunately, having been there.
Yeah, well, it is the next best thing. It's obviously it's not. Saying that, sometimes it's easier because if you had to sit through sort of 3 days worth of presentations, get the same kind of information. Sometimes people prefer to just be able to flip through a PDF, and be able, especially if, I've done it with chapters, so you can go straight to the content. So I've put live links in there, so if you can go straight to any of the marketers. And sometimes it is a bit easier skimming through that information and picking out what you need rather than having to sit through 3 days of presentations, which is that's what it's designed for, really. I mean, that's what notes are, aren't they?
Yeah.
I initially did them for myself. I wasn't thinking of selling them.
Yeah.
But when people saw them, they said they were that good. They said this should be a product.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Oh yeah, totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. You have a good point about the fact that if I had a set of DVDs, would I really be sitting through them all? I mean, even if I knew the subject of them and I could, flick to a chapter, it's sometimes easier just to open up, a PDF, go straight to the content, find what I need, and get going. So yeah, that's a good point.
I've got you. It's what I was going to say. I've actually got quite a few DVDs of presentations. Russell Brunson, Eben Pagan. I spent a lot of money on an Eben Pagan. I think it's Get Altitude, and I've still only watched Frank Kern as well. I've still only watched bits and bobs of it. I've never watched the whole thing all the way through, and I've had it over a year now, and I just haven't had the time.
Yeah. You can open up a PDF in your laptop when you've got a spare moment and pick up a few tips. So yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So yeah, you're launching on Friday for this one.
Yeah, it's called the Millionaire Marketing Summit Notes. So as we're doing this interview, it's actually Thursday, the 6th of August. So it's launching on Friday the 7th.
Tomorrow.
So there'll be a launch discount for a week. It's launching at 11 a.m. US time, so it'll be EST, but in English time it is 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Right.
So people can get home after the Friday days of work, sit down and buy the product and get stuck into it.
And go through it. Yeah, I'll put the link under the video, obviously, and
yeah. So that's the thing, guys. Click the link under the video when when the interview's finished. But that's that. As I say, it's it's launching for a week. So discounted price $17 at the moment. Obviously, it won't stay that way after the week. So this is your time to grab it if you're going to buy it. If you want the best price. Yep.
And it's worth a lot more, I would say. I know we're getting towards time when you wanted to cut off. I just wanted to ask, because we talked about live events, any last minute tips for anyone that's considering going to the first, how to make the most of live events? What's your thoughts?
How to make the most. Number one, watch all the presentations, because there's going to be golden nuggets in all of them. Take as many notes as you can, so you walk away, because sometimes you don't always get access to the recordings. People haven't had access to recordings of this one to do with it's actually to do with a technical problem that the presenters have got with not the presenters, the organisers have got with converting the files. So if you take your own notes, at least you've got something to walk away from. Network and make as many contacts as friends as you can. Obviously, depending on where you are in your internet marketing career, you can always like swap ideas with people. As well, you can gain ideas, you can give ideas back, try and get as much help as you can, try and give reviews, try and get, offer testimonials. That's one of the things when you're first starting off. Offering testimonials is a very, very good way to get into people's good books, especially if you've got some solid before and after results. I was in this position, I followed such and such's advice, and now I'm in this position, or I've got this much money, or my life is so much better, or blah blah blah. I mean, that's the sort of thing that marketers need to sell their products, because it's solid proof. So that's another thing you can offer people, even if it's just testimonials of the actual event itself. So that's another good way to make contact with people if you're not very well known yet.
Yeah. Another thing I heard from, I think it was Barb Ling, one of her bits of advice was to have a curiosity. Something like that people go, oh, that's so and so. Colin's got his beard, you've got your hat. Things like that. Yeah,
that's like branding. It's part of your branding. I mean, Barb, it's coffee, isn't it? She's a coffee lady.
Yeah.
It's just something that people can associate yourself with. Like, you what's the name? Rob Temple's got the red hair.
Red hair, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's from his other hypnosis side of his career, but that's what brands him. That's what makes him stand out. So it's nice. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice as a USP.
Yeah.
Which is something unique about yourself, so people can identify you.
Yeah.
The top hat's not a totally new thing. Dr. Ben's worn one. Jason Fladley wore one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not, but it's just that when I put mine on, yeah, it creates so much. I mean, it doesn't always go down well. I mean, Soren hates it. The guy from the Iron Wealth Builders who used to work with Cindy, he told me it was disgusting. I just giving him a load of praise as well, saying how good his presentation was. But he's not known for his subtleties, actually, Soren.
No.
Yeah, as I say, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I mean, people do recognise you through it.
And you can see you through in a crowded bar. You can go, there's Carol.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But no, listen, it's been fantastic talking to you. I appreciate you taking the time, especially the day before launch. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, advice-wise, I'd say to people would say, what's your biggest takeaway from what you've learned so far? Everybody's got to spin the wheels a little bit at the beginning when they're putting the feelers out, seeing what's going, see what suits them, seeing how they can slot in. But a lot of people get stuck in this sort of perpetual, unfocused, doing a little bit of training here, a little bit of training there, getting distracted. But the thing is, find one thing as quick as you can, using the methods that I said earlier, and stick to it and do it. Follow it through till you can't follow it through anymore. You've done what you can on it. Yeah, and then move on to the next project. Because that's what messes up people too much in IM. It's overwhelm, frustration, having too many things, different things happening at the same time, not knowing which direction to take, and that's it. I mean, Lee McIntyre always said concentrate on one thing, and he was right. I mean, that guy is retired from IM now with a lot of money. And he was my first coach, and the power of one. It means it's very different from, say, Tony Shepard's approach, where Tony will have his fingers in a few pies, and he will, he'll try out lots of methods from things he buys, or outsource the methods, or whatever. And again, Tony's very successful in his own right, but he'll have one thing that he'll stick out more than anything else. I mean, he'll have one major thing, or he'll finish something before automating it, systemizing it, moving it over, giving it some outsource, and then moving on to the next thing. But you need to get one thing going.
Yeah.
And stick to it. And if you fall over and stumble and you have bad experience, just learn from it, pick yourself up, don't get too disheartened, because everybody has them. There's people. I mean, I work as okay, I don't do it so much now. I just do it part time when I need the work. But when I do the teaching, I work with people with quite severe disabilities, and the things these people will achieve despite their disabilities is quite amazing. Obviously, if you stick to one thing and keep picking yourself up and don't get too disheartened, which is very easy to do. Don't get disillusioned. That's well, I think everyone in this game has.
And if you haven't, you're going to be.
I say it's very difficult. Especially if you're out there without a safety net, like I am at the moment. I've got no safety net. I haven't got a full-time job. I rely on what I make from my marketing at the moment, and little bits and bobs that I'm doing, and it's quite scary. But if you can have the discipline to pull thing off, stay focused, and stay on that one line, stay on that one project, and finish that, and don't get too distracted. So if that makes sense, that was a bit of a long-winded answer.
No, it says perfect. Makes perfect sense. Follow one course until successful. Focus.
Yeah. Even if you're only partially successful with it, follow it to its full, and don't get distracted. Basically.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That's been great. You've supplied some great content in this as well, and hope people enjoy watching it. I really appreciate your time again, especially since you're launching tomorrow, so you're bound to be busy. But thanks very much for coming on the show. Yeah, that's all right, David. It's been a pleasure. Very glad. I hope the information is helpful to your listeners, or to your viewers, should I say? Okay, thanks very much, Carl. Take care. Thanks, David. Bye. Okay, bye now.